What kind of person storms a neighbor's barbecue with hired muscle to enforce a petty rule? That's the question I was asking myself as HOA Karen. All 300 pounds of her barreled through my backyard gate. Her face a storm cloud of righteous indignation. Her floral muumuu flapped like a battle flag. And behind her trailed 3 goons, big guys with cheap sunglasses and cheaper tattoos, looking like they'd been plucked from a low-budget action flick. My yard, filled with the laughter of friends, the sizzle of burgers, and the clink of beer bottles, fell silent. All eyes turned to the spectacle unfolding. This wasn't just a neighborly spat. This was war. I stood by the grill, spatula in hand, my heart pounding as I tried to process what was happening. HOA, the self-appointed queen of our HOA, had been a thorn in my side since I moved to this quiet suburban street 6 months ago. Her obsession with rules, grass height, mailbox color, even the exact shade of beige for fences was legendary. But this was next level. She'd come to shut down my barbecue, claiming it violated some obscure HOA clause about excessive gatherings. I could smell the charcoal and feel the heat from the grill, but all I could see was her finger jabbing the air, her voice shrill as she demanded we disperse. I tried to keep my cool, explaining that this was a private gathering, just 10 friends enjoying a Saturday afternoon. But HOA wasn't here for reason. She was here for dominance. Her goons loomed closer, one cracking his knuckles like we were in some cliché mob movie. My guests, a mix of old college buddies and new neighbors, shifted uneasily. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw Jake and Marcus step forward. Jake, a Marine veteran who'd seen 2 tours in Afghanistan, had a calm intensity that could silence a room. Marcus, his brother-in-arms, matched his vibe both in faded jeans and t-shirts, but carrying themselves like they were ready for anything. They'd been flipping burgers with me just minutes ago, joking about the core. Now, they were my unexpected line of defense. Jake crossed his arms, his voice low but firm. "Ma'am, you need to leave. This is private property." Hoa's eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a sneer. She wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by men who looked like they could bench press her goons. The air crackled with tension. HOA doubled down, waving a crumpled copy of the HOA bylaws like it was the Constitution. "This is a violation," she screeched, her voice carrying across the yard. "You're disturbing the peace, and I've got the authority to shut this down." Her goons took a step forward, as if to back her up, but Jake and Marcus didn't flinch. I could see my neighbor Sarah, a quiet single mom, clutching her son's hand, her face pale. My buddy Tom, usually the life of the party, was frozen, beer bottle halfway to his lips. I wanted to de-escalate, to keep this from turning ugly. But HOA was relentless. She pointed at the grill, claiming the smoke was a public nuisance. That's when I noticed something odd. One of her goons, the shortest one with a patchy beard, kept glancing at his phone, like he wasn't fully committed to this intimidation gig. It was a small crack in their armor, but it gave me a flicker of hope. Maybe they weren't as united as they seemed. Then came the twist that turned my stomach. HOA, in her tirade, let slip something I hadn't expected. "You think you can just move in here and ignore me?" She spat, her eyes locked on mine. "I know who you are. I saw you at the community center last month, talking to that lawyer about challenging the HOA." My heart sank. I had been at the community center, quietly meeting with a lawyer friend to discuss how to push back against Hoa's endless nitpicking. I'd kept it under wraps, or so I thought. She'd been watching me, probably for weeks, waiting for a chance to strike. This barbecue wasn't just about a rule violation, it was personal. She wanted to make an example of me. The realization hit like a punch. This wasn't just about burgers and smoke. This was about control. About her need to crush anyone who dared question her reign. Jake stepped closer to HOA. His voice still calm, but edged with steel. You've got no right to spy on people or barge in here with your hired help. Back off, or we'll call the cops. HOA laughed. A harsh, grating sound that made my skin crawl. Go ahead. She taunted. The police know me. They'll back me up. Her confidence was unshakable. But I could see the short goon shifting uncomfortably again, his eyes darting to his phone. Something was off, but I couldn't pin it down. Marcus, meanwhile, had his phone out, already dialing 911. The crowd murmured, some pulling out their own phones to record. HOA didn't notice, too caught up in her power trip. She started listing my supposed violations too long. Trash cans out too early, each accusation louder than the last. My guests were rattled. But Jake and Marcus held their ground. Their presence a quiet promise that this wouldn't end the way HOA planned. The standoff stretched on, every second heavy with the threat of escalation. HOA's goons were restless now, the short one whispering something to the others. I caught a snippet, something about not signing up for this. My pulse quickened. Were they cracking? Before I could process it, sirens wailed in the distance. HOA's smirk faltered, just for a moment, but she recovered quickly, puffing out her chest. You'll see, she said, her voice dripping with venom. The police will have you shut down in minutes. But when two officers stepped through the gate, their expressions weren't what she expected. They didn't look like her allies. They looked annoyed. The older one, a grizzled man with a name tag reading Officer Daniels, scanned the scene, the tipped grill, the scattered food. HOA's goons looming like discount bouncers. What's going on here? He asked, his tone flat but authoritative. HOA launched into her spiel, waving her bylaws and pointing at me like I was a criminal mastermind. But the officers weren't buying it. Daniels cut her off mid-rant. Ma'am, you can't just barge onto private property with whoever these guys are, he said, eyeing the goons. The younger officer, a woman with sharp eyes, chimed in. And you're telling me you hired these men to enforce HOA rules? That's not how this works. The crowd gasped, and I felt a surge of vindication. HOA's face reddened, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The short goon, the one who'd been fidgety, suddenly spoke up. Look, we were just hired for a job. She said it was legal. The other two goons nodded, stepping back as if distancing themselves from her. The crowd murmured louder, phone still recording. It was unraveling fast. HOA's authority, her carefully constructed image, was crumbling. Daniels asked for my side, and I explained calmly, maybe too calmly, thanks to the adrenaline, how HOA had stormed in, uninvited, with hired muscle to shut down a lawful gathering. Jake and Marcus backed me up, their military precision making every word land like a hammer. The officers listened, then turned back to HOA. You've got no legal standing here, Daniels said. HOA rules don't override property rights. And bringing these guys, he gestured at the goons, who were now practically shrinking. That's intimidation. You're lucky we're not charging you. The younger officer couldn't hide a smirk as she added, next time, try talking to your neighbor before you play mob boss. HOA's empire collapsed in that moment. Her goons muttered apologies and slunk away. the short one practically sprinting to the gate. The crowd erupted in whispers, some stifling laughter. HOA stood there, alone, her bylaws clutched to her chest like a lifeline. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes, not anger, but shame. She'd overplayed her hand, and everyone saw it. I could have gloated, could have rubbed it in, but I didn't. Instead, I walked over, the spatula still in my hand, and said, "Hoa, this didn't have to happen. We're neighbors. Let's figure this out like adults." She didn't respond, just turned and shuffled out, her moo-moo dragging through the grass. The officers followed, making sure she left. As the sirens faded, the mood in the yard shifted. My guests rallied, helping clean up the mess. Jake and Marcus cracked open fresh beers, their stoic facades breaking into grins. Sarah's son, no longer scared, ran around chasing a stray balloon. Tom blasted music from his portable speaker, and soon, the barbecue was back in full swing. But it wasn't just a party. Anna Maria, it was a victory. Not just over HOA, but over the kind of small-minded tyranny she represented. Later that week, I heard whispers that HOA had stepped down from the HOA board, humiliated by the viral videos of her meltdown. I didn't rejoice. I felt a strange pity for her, a woman so consumed by control she'd forgotten how to connect. That night, as the stars came out and the grill glowed, I looked around at my friends, my neighbors, my defenders. We weren't just eating burgers, we were reclaiming something. Community. Freedom. The right to live without someone breathing down your neck. I raised my bottle, and the others followed. To good neighbors, I said, and they echoed it, their voices loud and warm. HOA had tried to break us, but she'd only made us stronger. In the end, it wasn't just about a barbecue. It was about standing up, together, and refusing to let fear win. And that's a story worth telling.